If you decide to create a channel dedicated to Pokemon Gold and Silver solo challenges, you'll be faced with a multitude of challenges right away. These are not only technical, but also content-related questions. A significant challenge is deciding which Pokemon you'll choose for the first run. The first run should be an absolute powerhouse, but how exactly do you define such a powerhouse? Is it a Pokemon that's been played before, so you maybe have some benchmarks for comparison? Is it a Pokemon that has never been played, but then you're without a benchmark? Or perhaps it's one that's particularly strong, or especially weak? Do you choose a favorite, or maybe one that hardly anyone has on their radar? Personally, I haven't found a clear-cut answer to this question. In the end, it might not be as dramatic as it feels, because let's be honest, the first one is inherently destined to be repeated one day due to the lack of experience that I have. And since we're in the year 2023, I simply consulted AI, and AI pulled out the true powerhouse: Tyranitar. With a base stat total of 600, it definitely falls into the particularly strong category, although its 61 base speed isn't helpful. On the plus side, Tyranitar is only 4 times weak to fighting type moves. This means that the battles against Chuck and Bruno will be particularly intense. Since this is my first recorded run, not everything will go perfectly. My goal at this point is to stay under 6 hours of in-game time. At 4 times speed, this translates to a real-time duration of about 1 hour and 30 minutes. Considering that I'm not fully practiced yet and the rules don't necessarily make everything super easy, this would be a decent starting time in my opinion. The first Pokemon is, in any case, a 100% candidate for a later rerun. A small disclaimer at this point: not everything in the UI will be perfect either. Further improvements will be made for subsequent runs, so please forgive any inaccuracies in the UI. Now, let's dive into the run. As you can see, the first battle with the Wyvern is no problem at all. We easily take down Totodile and breeze through to the Sprout Tower. In the rules of the Golden Runs, I have decided to include the Sprout Tower since I have no intention of memorizing the past in that case. What looks like a super easy fight here is quite a bit lucky. We get the first flinch, which allows us to defeat Bellsprout without taking damage, and the second one may also only perform one attack. This is thanks to us outspeeding the Bellsprouts. If we wouldn't outspeed the Bellsprouts, this would be a tough battle. Naturally, Falkner's Flying Gym has some challenges with Rock-type Pokemon. There isn't too much to say with the battle, actually. Pidgey goes down with a critical hit, and Pidgeotto falls down to a 2-shot with Bite. As expected, the early game is relatively easy. Next step is to be working on the cut that is possible in Pokemon Gold and Silver. The last Pokemon Center we visited was in Violet City. This way, after defeating Whitney, we can pick up the Squirt Bottle, use Abra to teleport back to Violet City and head straight to Sudowoodo without having to fight several trainers, which saves us several minutes in the run that will be hopefully viable later. The only requirement is that we have enough PP to get through Bugsy, Rival 2 and Whitney without healing. But with Bite, Headbutt and Tyranitar Strength, this shouldn't be a problem. Before tackling Bugsy, there's another challenge, Rival 2. We will take him first. Ghastly of course is a one-shot by Bite. After leveling up to level 15, we now face Croconaw, which I was a bit worried about because it's a water type, we are a rock type, and this may could have gone wrong, but it actually deals almost no damage to us. We even get the flinch with Headbutt to secure a pretty easy victory. Zubat, as the last Pokemon, also has no chance against us. We then jump straight to Bugsy, whose Metapod and Kakuna are each defeated with a single bite. Scyther is relatively dangerous with Fury Cutter, but we are fast enough to take it down. One more turn and we maybe wouldn't have been. We head into Ilex Forest and pick up Headbutt, an absolutely must-have to perform the cut after Whitney. Shortly after, we see why I prefer to measure my speed using in-game time rather than real time. The first mistake I make here is not teaching Headbutt at the same time a new repel needs to be applied. Shortly after, we fight Picnic and Gina, where I'm annoyed that Bite doesn't one-shot Bulbasaur. So I teach Tyranitar Headbutt, but accidentally click a bit too quickly and forget Bite. This is a big problem, as Bite will be an essential move throughout the run. I have to reset, and my last save was before Bugsy, meaning several extra minutes for me. This time though, I do it right. I grab the coin case, dash to the game corner and buy Abra and spend the 4000 Pokédollars, which I have just enough of. With Abra in tow, I turned my attention to Whitney. I was pretty scared of Rollout because I knew if I wouldn't be able to defeat Whitney fast enough, well, Rollout would make quick work of me. So I decided to teach Mudslap just for safety reasons. With only 6 bites and 6 headbutts, those are 12 damaging attacks, but you never know. You better be safe on this one. So let's tackle Whitney. If we're able to win this battle, we will have a big time save just in front of us. I decided to start a Sandstorm, which has no impact on the battle other than voluntarily skipping a turn. Clefairy transforms into a fighting type using Metronome and Conversion 2. Nice, good choice, but falls to a headbutt critical hit. Miltank enters the fray and the race begins. Rollout versus Headbutt. Who will win? Well, Tyranitar engages as the clear victor. We managed to clinch one of the trickier badges on the first try. We quickly grab Fearow from the guard to have a Pokemon for Fly, pick up the Squirt Bottle, and teleport due to Abra back to Violet City. From there, we can reach Sudowoodo without any annoying battles, flee from it, and visit Morty. I decide to fight all trainers at Morty's gym since they are an easy prey against Bite. Let's be honest on this one. Morty shouldn't pose any challenge to us due to being a ghost type gym leader facing a Tyranitar which has a dark type move named Bite, which has also the chance to make Pokemon flinch. This should be super duper easy. Morty tries everything, but Ghastly doesn't stand a chance against Bite. The first Haunter tries to deal damage with the Nightshade, which is successful, but it also fails to a single bite. Next up is Gengar, which uses Mean Look, preventing my already non-switchable Pokemon from switching out. Great choice. Shadow Ball deals Amigo for damage and Morty's ace is down. The last Haunter falls after a single bite, and Tyranitar and I have already collected half of the Johto badges. Next we head to Jasmine and Ampharos before facing the toughest challenge so far, Chuck. Chuck is indeed a tough opponent, and given Tyranitar's 4 times weakness to fighting moves, I was really worried. We start against Primeape with a headbutt followed by a flinch. Primeape outspeeds Tyranitar and we have to tank a Grady Chop, which halves our HP. Regardless of Tyranitar's HP though, Poliwrath must not land the Dynamic Punch. First miss, second miss, third miss, and we defeat Poliwrath. Was that super lucky? Yes, it was. Will I replay the battle? Absolutely not. Dynamic Punch has a 50% chance to miss, but 3 misses in a row are still quite unlikely. It's like 12.5%, but we will take it. With that, a significant challenge is already out of the way. In case you're wondering why I didn't teach Hidden Power Flying, Hidden Power is not allowed. However, Return and Fire Punch are allowed. Return will accompany us until the end of the run, and Fire Punch is essential against Jasmine, Price, and the upcoming rival battles. We quickly deliver the medicine and head to Jasmine. Tyranitar is still level 29, but Magnemite can't withstand a Fire Punch, and Jasmine sends Steelix into the fray. It looks like Fire Punch will deal half damage, but the second Fire Punch brings us back to reality. Although Steelix is burned, it barely survives, lands an Iron Tail, and forces a reset. At this point I hope there was a damage range, but the second try shows that it won't work. In the third attempt, for some reason I try Return, which is resisted and deals minimal damage. I have no idea what I thought there. But this allows 2 Fire Punches to finish the job. Steelix misses the first Iron Tail and Tyranitar survives the second, securing our 6th badge because the other Magnemite is no challenge. Now comes the part that's surely most daunting when thinking about solo runs in the 2nd generation. The Rocket Hideout, followed by the takeover of the Radio Tower. These are about 30 battles that can't be skipped, so this section takes up a significant amount of in-game time. Fortunately, we can skip all of these due to the power of video editing, and we land directly at Price. By the way, during the Rocket Hideout I picked up Dire Hit and gave it to Tyranitar to increase its crit chance. For a rock-type Pokemon, Price isn't much of a threat. He has 2 potential water Pokemon, Seel and Dugong, but neither of them have a water move. The first Seel barely survives the return and responds with Aurora Beam, which does negligible damage. Piloswine, being Ice Ground type, is vulnerable to fire and misses Blizzard, so 2 Fire Punches are enough. The fight against Dugong goes similarly to the one against Seel. With 2 returns and tanking an Aurora Beam, Dugong also goes down. Price is in a weird spot in these games and doesn't pose a real threat to most Pokemon. It feels like he's more the 5th gym leader instead of the 7th, but, well, okay. The next part of the game isn't much of a challenge either, aside from the rival battle. The number of battles is high, costing more in-game time. Speaking of the rival, that's the next fight we will look at. The rival's Golbat doesn't stand a chance against Rock Slide. Feraligatr puts up a bit more resistance, but Return followed by Bite and another Bite put an end to it, even though it managed to deal some damage. Magnemite is lower level than Jasmine, so it's not a problem. We don't want to learn Scary Face and we already know Haunter from Morty, it's a one-shot bite. Against Sneasel, I make a small mistake by accidentally selecting Bite, which is not effective against a Dark-type Pokemon, I know that, but I just mashed the button too fast. I should have chosen Fire Punch, which would have resulted in a 1-hit KO. The third rival battle is successful and we jump straight to Claire. Tyranitar is now level 43 and I picked up the pink ball from the radio tower. This boosts normal type moves like Return. Unfortunately, Tyranitar can't learn Ice Punch or Fire Punch. The goal is to one-shot the Dragonairs to avoid being paralyzed. The first Dragonair goes down with a 1-hit Return and Claire sends us Kingdra. Return brings it to orange health and we should survive a surf if it doesn't crit. So I try again with the same strategy. Return takes care of the first Dragonair as usual and Kingdra comes out again. Return deals a lot of damage again and Kingdra uses Surf, but this time without the crit and Tyranitar survives. Essentially, we are done as the other 2 Dragonairs also have no chance against Return. Finally, Claire wants to torture us a bit more by challenging us to get the Dragon Teeth, which isn't a problem at all. After M's call, I quickly grab the rare candies that I didn't grab yet. They will help Tyranitar before facing Red, as its level would be too low considering the XP group it's in. With all the rare candies in our bag, we head to Victory Road. Our rival appears for the last time, starting the battle this time with Sneasel. Fire Punch, as I mentioned before, makes short work of it. Feraligatr doesn't stand a chance against 2 returns either, even though it's a water Pokemon. Golbat is well covered by Rock Slide, but due to accuracy concerns, I opt for the 1-hit KO with Return. Magneton has no chance against Fire Punch and really rewarded with Crunch. Again, I mash the A button too often, so Kadabra survives the hit. However, Haunter has no problem with Crunch, as Kadabra shouldn't have been. Just before I head towards the Elite 4, I quickly collect the TM for Earthquake, which will replace Fire Punch, but only after Koga. Fire Punch is still very useful for Koga, since he's using some helpful second typings. By now I'm so confident that I decide using items here would only slow me down, so I head straight to Will. Will's team mainly consists of Psychic Pokemon which are vulnerable to the recently learned Crunch. So Xatu is a 1-hit KO, Executor even survives a Fire Punch. I should have gone with Crunch right away, I think. The second Xatu goes down with Crunch like the first one, Jinx falls to a Crunch as well, and finally Slowbro learns the doggone things, comes in 3s with a critical hit. That was no challenge at all. A similar situation unfolds against Koga. His poison Pokemon don't really benefit from often having secondary type, which makes it easier for Tyranitar. Ariados, being a bug type, goes down to Fire Punch. Fortress, being a bug steel type, even is 4 times weak to Fire Punch. Muk survives the return but can't play the evasion card fast enough, leaving only Crowbot and Venomoth. Based on the results I had against Golbat, I choose the safer return, but it doesn't deal enough damage, so we need 2 hits instead of a single Rock Slide. Finally, Venomoth enters the battle, barely surviving a Fire Punch and poisoning Tyranitar, but the issue is settled. Now, onto the biggest challenge. Bruno. As crazy as this sentence sounds, it's true. It's an extremely rare occurrence that Bruno represents the biggest challenge in a run, but that's definitely the case here. Hitmontop actually presents one of the smallest challenges of Bruno. Although it uses Dig due to Tyranitar's typing, that's an easy fix. For the first attempt, 2 returns hits are enough to take down Hitmontop. Fortunately, Hitmonlee is slower than Tyranitar somehow and doesn't survive a return. Hitmonchan on the other hand is faster, but only manages to land 1 attack. Now comes Onix, which has high defense but very low special defense, so it's finished after a crunch. So that means 4 out of 5 down, but now comes the biggest challenge. We strike first with return, but it's not enough for a 1-hit KO, so Machamp's cross chop ends the meta for now. I try again, thinking that doing the exact same thing should somehow produce a different result, which it doesn't. So it's another reset for Tyranitar. In the next attempt, and spoiler alert, in the final attempt, I finally changed my strategy. I level up Tyranitar to level 50, which is quite annoying since it was already close to being level up. I leveled Tyranitar to level 50, which is quite annoying because it was almost level 49, so I have to use 2 rare candies instead of 1, but I think that's the safer way. At this point I'm soft locked in the league, so I give it a try to just use the rare candies here. This time I have Earthquake for Hitmontop if it uses Dig, allowing me to defeat it without taking damage. We already know what happens to Hitmonlee. So Hitmonchan again lands the Mech Punch, and after Onyx we are once again facing Machamp. Earthquake hits, and thanks to a critical hit results in a one-hit KO. I'm quite lucky to achieve success relatively quickly here, but I'll gladly take it. I wonder if the worst is already behind me now that Bruno's out of the way. Next up is Karen, a really feared opponent for many solo runs, but once again she's surprisingly easy. We're a bit lucky with Umbreon, as we only need 2 returns and Umbreon uses Sand Attack but he misses, so this is a 2-hit KO. Vileplume takes a critical hit from Crunch, which also is a 1-hit KO in this case, and this is 2 out of 5 down. Houndoom takes an Earthquake crit, which probably wasn't necessary. Gengar takes another Earthquake crit, which also wasn't necessary, and Murkrow goes down to Rock Slide. Yet another trouble-free sweep where we don't take much damage. So on to the last member of the Elite Four, the Champion. The Dragon types here shouldn't pose a huge challenge. Once again, the secondary types of the Pokemon work in Tyranitar's favor. All 6 of the Champ's Pokemon are flying types, so as long as Tyranitar hits with Rock Slide, there should be 6 1-hit KOs in theory. Gyarados is number 1, but Rock Slide misses against Dragonite and Tyranitar gets paralyzed, ending the attempt abruptly. I also switched to the less promising Return instead of sticking with Rock Slide. With Return, we managed to even take down 2 more Dragonites. Even Aerodactyl goes down to a Rock Slide in the end. At that moment I realized Rock Slide is the better choice against Dragonite, but of course Tyranitar is paralyzed right now. So the attempt is over, but it was also extremely promising. Despite being paralyzed, Tyranitar took out 4 of the 6 Pokemon, so the battle should be a formality in the next attempt. Let's try again. Run Rock Slide is enough for Gyarados. Rock Slide 2 for Charizard. Rock Slide 3 for Dragonite 1. Rock Slide 4 for Dragonite 2. Rock Slide 5 for Aerodactyl. And you guessed it, Rock Slide 6 for Dragonite 3. And that's even though Rock Slide only has 90% accuracy. But calculated over 6 attacks, it's still over 50% likely that all 6 will hit. So this battle feels very lucky, but it actually wasn't. With that, Tyranitar has completed Johto in about 4 hours and 30 minutes and has made it through most of the journey. To be honest, this time isn't exceptionally good, but it's not a disaster either. With many improvements here and there, I believe you could shave off at least 30 minutes. The menus in particular took a lot of time, and there were a few misplays that made battles longer than necessary. But that's also part of the learning curve you have to face in a project like this. Elm hands me the boat ticket, and after a short sea voyage we arrived at Lieutenant Surgeon's gym. The target time of under 6 hours is still within reach, although it's becoming clear that it would be very close. As an electric-type gym leader, Surge is relatively manageable training material. Earthquake is enough for Raichu, also it is enough for Electrode. While it takes 2 returns to defeat Magneton, which isn't a problem to a missed Zap Cannon. Another Earthquake takes down the other Electrode, and Electabuzz is also defeated by Earthquake. We then use 2 small skips. We dash to the power plant, where a part is missing. A quick detour to the Pokemon Center sets it as Arbor's teleport point. We head to Misty's gym, grab the part, we get surprised by a rocket, who could have known, and teleport back to the power plant. With that done, we can now tackle Misty, who we rudely interrupt during her date, but I don't have time to waste, so we better have a fight now. Water attacks are seemingly effective, but not quite. Golduck survives an Earthquake but can't deal enough damage with Surf. After comes out Quagsire, which falls to a single return. Now Lapras enters the turf and it uses Surf, bringing Tyranitar down into orange health range. Will this be close again? Fortunately, no, as Starmie goes down to a single return. That's now 2 out of 8 gyms in Kanto completed. Next, onto the next easy gym. Sabrina and their 3 Psychic type Pokemon have little to say against the Dark type. Espion goes down to a crunch, just like Mr. Mime. Alakazam outspeeds and uses Reflect, but that's not enough to prevent the sweep. And just like in the game, we are moving very quickly from one gym to the next. Our next stop, Erika. By now we've gained quite a few levels, so Tangela goes down to crunch. Victory Bell takes the 1-hit KO from return, Blossom follows Sweet, and Jumpluff does the same. This means that it's another clean sweep through a gym. We head through Diglett Cave and onto Brock. Can we make it 3 sweeps in a row? Graveler takes super effective damage from Earthquake, 1-shot. Rhyhorn takes super effective damage from Earthquake, 2nd 1-shot. Omastar takes super effective damage from Earthquake, 3rd 1-shot. Kabutops also takes super effective damage from Earthquake, 4th 1-shot. And finally, Onix joins the party, making it the 3rd sweep in a row. Now let's head off to Blaine to keep the streak alive. Makago has nothing to counter Earthquake, another 1-shot. Magmar follows Sweet, as does Rapidash. Another sweep goes into Tyranitar's record. That makes 6 out of 8 Kanto badges in our possession, with 20 minutes to spare. Now I really need to step on the gas pedal. Janine pulls a small trick, but she's outclassed with her Pokemon. Level 36 to level 40 Pokemon against a level 59 Tyranitar don't need actually any commentary. We get another easy sweep, which takes me straight to our last badge in Viridian City. There, Blue. A finally worthy and equal opponent awaits Tyranitar. Against Pidgeot, I choose Return instead of Rock Slide again. It doesn't make much sense, but thanks to a critical hit, it's enough. Raiden enters the field and is the first Pokemon in a long time to survive the hit. Earthquake brings it to low orange HP, and it retaliates with its own Earthquake, which deals significant damage to Tyranitar. Next, Blue switches to Gyarados, which is immune to Earthquake due to its flying typing. That was a smart switch, I think. However, Gyarados is easy prey for Rock Slide, and since I outspeed it, it goes down immediately. Raiden returns, now finally succumbing to Earthquake. Executor is up next, and thanks to its part Psychic typing, it stands no chance against Punch. Just like the full Psychic Alakazam, which follows and chooses the same route as Executor. Last but not least is Arcanine, which should be an easy sweep for Earthquake. It survives, however, and sends Bellspot onto the field with Roar. This takes an unexpected turn, as I have to switch Tyranitar back in and tank an attack. Moreover, Arcanine is quite fast. Thankfully, Flamethrower deals little damage due to Tyranitar's rock typing, and Earthquake is enough to take out Arcanine. So this means, with all badges in hand, after 5 hours and 45 minutes, we are already heading to the final battle in the run. Before that though, we will need to level up to 61. After that, using Rare Candies, Tyranitar will reach level 68, which should be enough to take on Red. The battle with Red using only Tyranitar is somewhat strange. Red has a few Pokemon that are easy targets like Espion and Pikachu, but also Red has Blastoise, which is definitely a tougher type opponent that will make our lives very difficult. Furthermore, I'm a bit concerned about how Tyranitar will handle Snorlax and Venusaur. I heal one last time and as announced use the Rare Candies. The PP looks good, we don't need any more items here. I quickly use the protein I have in my bag. I also equip the Pig Bow to deal maximum damage with a turn against Blastoise, Venusaur and Snorlax. And off we go to the hopefully final battle. The first Pokemon is Pikachu, level 81, which opens with Thunder. Due to the port speed stats, we have no chance to outspeed, but Thunder misses and Earthquake is, of course, super effective and enough to take out Pikachu. Venusaur comes onto the pitch and uses Sunny Day. Now it's crucial that we get a 2-hit win. It looks like Return is just barely dealing half damage, maybe a bit less, so I try Crunch, which of course deals even less damage. Soda Beam deals way too much damage, leaving Tyranitar with only 63 HP. Surviving Blastoise becomes impossible. Return deals slightly less than half damage, so I definitely need 3 hits against Blastoise, which ends the battle with Surf. This means we have the first reset at red, but straight onto the next attempt. This time, I'll try healing with the leftovers. It seemed like return against Venusaur could be a 2-hit, but probably not without the pink bow. If it's going to be 3 hits anyway, the pink bow doesn't matter and leftovers heal at least a little. The battle starts and Pikachu comes onto the field. Pikachu uses Charm, and as a physical attacker, Tyranitar might as well pack it up and reset. I try anyway, but neither the accidental Earthquake nor return deals anywhere near enough damage to Venusaur. That makes it quickly reset number 2. There are some things in its battle that absolutely must not happen. First, Pikachu effectively uses Charm, and second, Venusaur gets a second hit. And that's just the first 2 Pokemon, I haven't seen the others yet. Third try. Pikachu starts with Thunder again and misses. So far so good. We already know Earthquake one-shots and moves us to Venusaur. Return lands a critical hit, fulfilling both requirements. Venusaur won't have time to hit with Solar Beam. A second return finishes the job. Blastoise goes for Surf without Rain Dance, which is interesting, only to start Rain Dance a turn later. If it were the other way around, it would have been dramatic, but Tyranitar still has 190 HP after 3 returns for the last 3 Pokemon, 2 of which we are super effective against. Espeon is next. Crunch is super effective, but Espeon outspeeds Tyranitar. Come on, I need a one-hit crunch here. Unfortunately, it's not enough, which is quite regrettable. Another Mud Slap hits, but as expected, Crunch finishes the battle against Espeon. Only 2 left, Snorlax and Charizard, but with a 2 times reduced accuracy. Return 1 against Snorlax, hits. Return 2 against Snorlax, hits. Could it be? Return 3, also hits. And there are still 129 HP left for Charizard. Come on Tyranitar, let's bring this home. Just hit Rock Slide and the game is done. Charizard is faster and uses Flamethrower, but it doesn't deal enough damage. In theory, we'd survive another turn, but it'd be best if Rock Slide hits. And so it does. Super effective and so close to finishing the run at a nice level, but I'm fully satisfied with that. My goal at the beginning was to stay under 6 hours. So with 5 hours and 56 minutes, I achieved this goal even though I know it's not a great time. During the run, I had estimated that there's easily 30 minutes of in-game time to be saved. Kanto went really smoothly, but in total, I think around 5 hours and 50 minutes could be possible. So that was the first run. Tyranitar will definitely be a candidate for at least one more run to see what's truly achievable. Thank you for watching. Until the next video, goodbye.